This episode is sponsored by Scofton, which is a great place to get great grub on this great worker placement game which is on Kickstarter right now until the middle of November. And now, on with the show. Random Acts of Kindness, Bunnies, Era the Consortium and Other RPGs, and Peter Wellington from the Staying In podcast. This is We're Not Wizards. How are you anyway?
I'm fine, man. I'm fine. It's I'm having a real like year of just trying to like zen out as much as I possibly can. Like I'm just trying to relax and not clutter up my life with things that are like bad things, not like poisonous things. I mean, obviously I don't want poisonous things as well, but like
Put away this cobra.
Yeah, cobras
Boxed away
in
by
the bin.
scorpions.
Yeah,
Keep that pufferfish away from me.
But like I've been trying to like really focus on like going to quality things that I really want to enjoy, but also trying to improve like a work-life balance thing, like trying to actually like give myself the sort of mental space to be able to like chill out in my evenings and like have a nice weekend and not feel like I'm, you know, that I've got to constantly be making stuff or constantly be working or it's been really nice to just kind of lean into like this is what I did last year. 2018 was the year of I should play that, and 2019 is I want to play that. You see what I mean? Yeah, so it's been nice. How about you? How's everything with you?
I think I've been trying to. There's an inner kind of monologue kind of going on with me. With kind of, it's almost like a 1984's 2 Minutes of Hate type thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. You know, you kind of go on social media and you say, well, here's the headline of the day that's supposed to kind of rile you up as much as possible, and I've taken to looking at it and just trying to move away from it, especially if it's I think it's especially if it's something that's kind of like negative about somebody, depending on obviously who that person is, you know. But you know, there's benefits of the doubt that kind of have to come out, and some of the time you're just like, well, that is the way that they are, and me extracting more energy from other things I should be spending energy on and kind of pointing it in their direction and they're never ever gonna listen to me shouting at them on whatever social media. There's no point in doing it. So I've always decided that before I die, I'm going to go into my drafts in Twitter and I'm just going to send the whole lot off. And there'll be people that will just have a whole barrage of kind of kind of coming at them, which I think is going to be quite interesting to do. But
do you remember that thing you sent to me in 2015? Like,
Bush. You know what I mean? Just random. Do you imagine getting that? Just something random just coming in and just going, actually, I think you'll find it's an ecumenical matter kind of thing. And, you know, just kind of doing that. It's just try to focus away, you know.
Yeah. I think there's definitely one of the things I really struggled with last year was social media, and like you know, it's really tempting to wake up in the morning, and I definitely still do it, to go onto Twitter and see what everybody like. First of all, there's drama, right? So whatever industry you're in, you know, you might be in you know, industrial cleaning, for example, and there's probably drama in industrial cleaning. It's like, oh, I can't believe that at Vacuum Lover 3000 was saying that the latest Dyson is a load of rubbish. I'm sure that definitely happens. And also like news, right? Like Twitter feels a lot like this canvas upon which to get really upset and angry about things. It feels like Midas's Barber's Hole. Like it feels like the thing that you shout into to try and get all of the aggression and like worries and concerns that you have out into the void, because hopefully that'll feel better. But as you say, like, you know, I always feel like, because I'm the same as you, like I see other people online and I'm like, And I'm like, how dare they think like that? And in 2018, I might have been a little bit like, and really like stewed on it. And now in 2019, I've been like, okay, there's two things I can either do. I can try and understand their point, or I can just unfollow them. and like either is fine. Yeah. I think it's. And I think that's all part of that calming process as well, like trying to spend a little bit less time on the hell site.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is actually if you have got a point to make, it's kind of like make it in a reasonable manner, so the person's just like, oh, you're kind of like, there's been situations there's always kind of situations that happen. You know what, it's just like today I was reading about, oh, this person's been involved in this, and I'm like going, do you know what, I'm going to give that 48 hours. I'm going to come back, and just like a good slow cooking meringue, we're going to see if that is going to, if it's got any merit to it whatsoever, or if it's just like a kind of a clickbaity type thing. So in order to take us out of that, we've not even done an intro. I'm going to do my usual kind of staying in copycat intro, because I kind of like to do that anyway.
I love it every time.
I've got the kettle down. I've been testing myself on different kettles, and I think I've got it down. I'm a slight. Do you know there's a bit in Saving Private Ryan where he goes, so what's your German like? And he says it's a bit kind of this, it's got a touch of Bavarian in it. So I'm kind of going for something that is a possible, probably difference between a slight Tefal and a Morphy Richards. You can detect, so it's kind of almost like a, it is almost like a,
that's nice. Yeah, that's an absurdly good impression, actually.
I'd like to think at some point in the future, right, aliens are going to invade our land, and they're going to come down with an EMP. They're going to wipe out all electrical communication and all electricity sources, and the one thing that they are afraid of is the sound of a kettle boiling. And I am going to be. That's why they've done it. I'm going to be the person that saves the world by going about and scaring them off with my amazing kettle impressions. What a load of nonsense.
I think that's absolutely. I assume that they'll land in Yorkshire and be in entirely the wrong place. They'll be thinking, oh no, like they've got these Morphy Richards all over the place. Who is this? Who is your great leader, Morphy Richards? I think, of course,
I'll just say, just call me Richard. And
I think that's good. Everybody needs a life skill. I wonder why they've come here though. That's the big question. Like, so why? So I always think about aliens, right? Because I do think that, as a big fan of Star Trek, that I really like this idea that the and this is spoilers if you've not watched the last 30 years of Star Trek, but basically the Vulcans, which are these like pointy-eared aliens, basically, they spend this time monitoring humans. Like it's sort of made out to be a fairly substantial amount of time, and they monitor the humans to the point to which they then get to warp travel. And then as soon as the humans have warp travel, the Vulcans say, okay, we're actually here, this is what we're doing, you can now explore, but we're the welcoming committee because we want to introduce you into the world. And this idea that, and the Federation adopts it because they're basically like, they have this prime directive in which they don't want to alter the course of history for a non-spacefaring civilization. And I quite like this idea, and I definitely think that if aliens are watching us right now, they've definitely got their little alien telescopes, and they are looking down on you, making boiling kettle sounds into a microphone with another human being who's miles and miles and miles away, and thinking, you know what, they're not ready just yet.
No, they're not quite there.
Not just yet. There. No, not yet. Nearly, but we've ruined it. So,
I was thinking. Obviously, it's very, very easy to get kind of ranty kind of shouty and get complainy. And I think there's two things that people need to be doing more of. And I think one of them is secretive good deeds.
Oh, that's nice.
And what I mean by that is there's a tendency. Okay, there's bigging up people in public, and I think one of the things that a lot of kind of people who create kind of media and content and stuff like that, I still hold by the thing that there's nothing quite wonderful as somebody publicly telling you that they like and they enjoy and they appreciate what you produce. I mean, I do regularly try and mention guys like yourself and, Sporadically Bored and, other Death by Monsters, guys like that. But I also think there's something to be said for somebody who, and that's a very public thing, and it's like, oh, watch these shows, and sometimes I feel like, am I coming across as a bit kind of sycophantic? On the other thing, I think people should maybe sometimes just do stuff quietly. It's almost like kindness by stealth kind of thing. I think that's I
think we're so used, though, we're sort of so pessimistic that whenever somebody does something and you're like, oh, that was really nice. Even me, I immediately think, what's in it for this person? Like, why would they think like that? And that's the reptilian part of all of our brains, right? Going like, why would they be nice to us? Like, surely there's no reason to be nice to us. What we do is not very good. My existence is pointless. Like, this is silly. This is all, and it's that reptilian part that's just like constantly doubt, constantly be on the defense. And this idea of like, I really like this idea of like, going out there and actually shouting about the nice things that you like. 'Cause God knows there's a lot of bad things out there, but I do also like these moments of secret kindness. What would you do? Yes. Like, how would you like bring that into your everyday life then?
I think just by, I don't know, paying for somebody's shopping or something like that. Nothing nothing that's major. Something that's very personal between somebody before. Seeing if you see like an old couple in a cafe or something, buying their cup of tea for them or something like that. You know what I mean? Just going up to the counter and saying, oh, look, have they got a bill? And they say, yeah, I'll just sort it out. Something like that. Yeah. So that when they get to the counter and they say, can I pay for it? Somebody says, oh, it's already taken care of. You don't worry about it.
And it's that nice little surprise. Yeah.
And it's like, and then they just like, well, what that, and generally what people do in these situations is like, this doesn't kind of happen to me. And it's something that they tell. And it's not, it's not a big, huge thing. Yeah.
It's about making those little stories. The philosophy I've always lived by is try and make stories, right? Like, your life should be a big even if those stories are sad, or if those stories are happy, or if they're funny or silly or embarrassing, like, always try and make stories. That's why, like, because otherwise you get to the end of your life and people are like, Grandad, what did you do during your life? And you're like, and there's nothing worse, right? I can't think of anything worse than being embarrassed on your own deathbed that you haven't done anything. I'd be mortally, obviously, because I'm dying, but I'd be mortally embarrassed if I, God help me if somehow I managed to, have offspring in some capacity. I would be super embarrassed if we got to that point and they were like, what did you do? How did you act? You lived through such an exciting period of time, because all periods of time are really, really quite exciting. What did you do? And you're like, I just watched whatever was on TV. Like, I couldn't deal with that. I'd just be like, I can't. So, for example, like, one of the things, okay, here's an example, and now it's becoming an act that is not secret, so I'm going to give this to you. Yeah. But I was in this rather rough and tumble pub in Bristol, which has somewhat of a reputation for the police turning a blind eye to smoking the disco cigarettes out the back. the wacky backy, as some people might also. I believe that's the street term for it. That's why. That's definitely how I always.
Definitely, if you ask for that in the street, they'll definitely they know exactly.
They'll definitely not shout "narc." And they have this, and basically so I was there, and I'd had a couple of drinks by this point, and I went into the bathroom, and it was to the ladies listening, men unfortunately can't be trusted. Therefore, we have to go into basically what is a trough at some pubs. True. And you know what? Fair enough. And this thing was basically starting to flood. Like, it was disgusting, right? And this guy who didn't work at the pub, but was obviously this like regular, had this plunger in hand, and he was helping out because it was a busy Friday night, and he was there and he was helping out. And I said, this is very good of you, mate. Like, I had no idea who he was. This is, that classic like guy on guy, like, oh mate, we're all mates now, even though I have no idea who you are. And I said, this is very good of you, mate. And he was like, I know whoever it was that works behind the bar, so I just thought I'd help out. I drink here quite regularly, so I thought I'd help out. And I was like, So and then, first of all, first act of kindness, didn't go in the trough he was trying to unblock. I think that's the first major act of kindness. And then secondly, I went out and I put like a fairly substantial amount of cash behind the bar and said, the guy who's unblocking the toilets, do you know who he is? And they were like, oh yeah, he's my mate, whatever. And I was like, the next X number of drinks, they're on me. And I just like gave that thing. I was like, cool. And then walked out into the night because I had to go. And I was like, right, that is the nice thing where somebody will turn up and just be like, no, this one's on the house because of X, Y, and Z. Because you were making things nice for other people. And that's the thing,
exactly.
I think. Like, one good turn deserves another. And
it's not kind of like doing stuff so that other people will turn the attention back on yourself as well. It's very, very important that you're able to walk away from the situation and you're not actually claiming the after chat or the thoughts. You don't own. It's like you don't own that person's feelings of gratitude or anything like that. No, you're not there to get that reward, kind of thing.
It's like listening. It's like my bro Siddhartha Gautama would say, right? It's about putting the good karma out there, right? It's about if good. He was onto something, right? Like he was sort of saying, look, if you're good to people, people will be good to you. Not in a, and he didn't mean it in like a literal, like, if I give you this thing, you will give me that thing. It's literally a case of like, the more good things you put out into the universe, in exactly the same way that the more bad things you put out into the universe, the more likewise you will get back. Because if you put bad things into the universe, people are going to get annoyed and angry, and then that's only ever going to be cyclical. Whereas if you put good things out into the universe, it's the same sort of thing, right? You get that good stuff back. So that one time that you help somebody, they'll be like, I should do that. And that's the nice thing, I think. It's
yeah. And the second thing I was going to touch on,
go on,
which is there's quite clearly not enough people that have bunnies in their lives, and I want to address this. Now you've owned a bunny or have a bunny, don't you?
I do indeed, and I'd like to take you to task on this one because the thing that my partner and I always say, like, we have friends around and they're like, oh, you've got a house bun, and I'm like, yeah, his name's Taco, he's really fun and silly and he's all nice and stuff. The thing we immediately say afterwards is, never get one. Don't ever enjoy this. Don't get one. Yeah. Oh man. Like, so do you have girls or boys?
I've got one, and he's a boy. Okay. He was a boy until we took him to the cleaners and got him knackered.
Yeah, well, and now he's enjoying himself, so he's better off for it, right? Okay, so our bun is a somewhat, I would say, melodramatic bun, and somewhat of a prima donna. So, and also a little bit ill most of the time. So, but basically, we decided that we would not pick him up and put him in his house. So he lives in the house, but we wouldn't pick him up. We would always encourage him to go home. Right, we would always encourage him to go. But when we need to go to, come on, we need to go to work to pay for all the things that you have. So please come in. So we encourage him back into his home. And to be fair to him, he does that quite a lot. But if he's in a bad mood, he won't. He's also very so every year of his life he's got poorly. And so he had a pretty serious one, which was E. caniculi. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's. Do not Google it. It is horrible. But basically, he got this illness, and we managed to catch it before it turned fatal. And it is really not very nice at all. Basically, you can tell when they've got it because their eyes are twitching and they keep tracking and all that, with their head, they lose balance and all that sort of stuff. And it was like the most heartbreaking part of my life, the most heartbreaking parts of my life. But also, his teeth hurt sometimes, and we don't know when.
What?
So sometimes he'll be like, my teeth hurt, because they're they grow quite fast. So because his teeth hurt, and because he can't communicate this stuff out, because it doesn't really change, the only time that we know that is he goes, I'm not going to eat. And we're like, oh, brilliant. Because as you'll know, as a bunny owner, if they don't eat for 8 hours, their stomachs can just stop. And at that point,
yes,
you've got like 24 hours. So he'll be like, I decided in the middle of the night to stop eating. Figure out when. Because it's like, oh shit. Great. Off to the vets then. So imagine the scene then. Imagine the scene.
It's like an episode of House or ER
right.
Casualty.
Oh yeah. So imagine the scene. You've just wrapped up a wonderful, wonderful evening, right? You've exchanged presents. You've had the Christmas dinner. You've had everything that's absolutely lovely, and you turn to your the love of your life, and you say, "This was an absolutely incredible Christmas day. What a wonderful time. We absolutely nailed it this year. What an amazing, lovely time. Should we go to bed? Let's go to bed." And you head to bed, and you get the best 8 hours sleep that you've had. You feel so relaxed over the holiday period. You wake up, Boxing Day. Boxing Day, I had a bit of a lie-in. Wonderful. Excellent. What an amazing time we're having. Let's go in and let the bun out. Fantastic stuff. Open up the cage. My teeth hurt. Cool. Right. Great. So this okay. We don't drive. The vets is not open today. Yeah. The nearest vets that's open is like miles away, but we've got to go, because otherwise, this could be really bad. So then you get into the Uber, which on Boxing Day, let me tell you, is they are definitely charging more on a Boxing Day. Let me tell you that. Then you drive over to the thing. And it's like, yeah, his teeth clearly hurt. We'll give him all of this sort of stuff. And you're like, oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Of course, none of this is going to be covered by your health insurance. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We just want to make him okay. Brilliant. Yeah, cool. Give him all the stuff. Brilliant. Fantastic. Wrap everything up. He's in his little house, pissed off that you've taken him to the vets, annoyed. He's had loads of bits and pieces, stuff prodded. And they're like, that'll be £350, sir. Fantastic stuff. What? Okay, I guess I'll call another Uber to take us home. And so then you get him home, and then you put him on the floor, and you're like, I'm so sorry. I really hope that you're okay with all of this. And then he goes straight to his food bowl and starts eating. And you're like, cool. Yeah, no, this is... I'm glad that you're okay. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad that you're okay. This is really good. But you were £70 when we bought you. We thought you'd be a cheap animal, but this one trip is like 5 times your cost. We own you. What are you doing to contribute to this household? Like, all these questions really start to stack up after you've had an expensive thing like that.
There's only so many kind of wriggling of the nose and looking up at you with the kind of the doe eyes. They can work. Is Taco a lop then?
Yeah, so he's a mini lop. He's a little orange
he's
mini
a
lop.
mini lop. Right.
He's a mini lop. And so I will say this. So they are incredible pets, but they are way more work, I think, than dogs. Like they are, and certainly like cats. Cats are like, whatever. Like cats are like, oh, you're still alive? Feed me. Yes. Whereas rabbits are kind of like, they're halfway house between a dog and a cat. But rabbits are really, I'm sure you know, like they feel really social, and they've definitely got their own body language that they're trying to communicate with you.
Yes.
I mean, does yours do any like physical communication with you? How does it? Does yours purr?
No. Does yours?
Oh. Okay, yeah. So we rub his little cheeks.
Yeah.
Which, side note, the other day we rubbed his cheeks too much, and a little bit of fluff got matted, and then started irritating his eyes. Another expensive trip to the vets, let me tell you. So anyway, if you're careful and you rub their little cheeks and stuff like that, and maybe their ears and stuff like that, if they go for a really long time, they'll start to go.
Oh, I've heard that.
Like,
no, I have. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's called like purring or chittering or like.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's obviously like the sign of contentment, right? And does yours buzz?
No, he doesn't buzz. He does when he's annoyed,
yeah,
he'll just stand there and he'll do a single very, very loud stomp.
Yeah, the thud.
He's done it once when he was like, we had to give him a bath, because the thing about rabbits, and this is the wonderful thing they don't tell you, is that get a rabbit, it's easy. It's how difficult can it be to feed a rabbit? And the thing is, their tummies, as you know, are very, very on a balance.
Oh,
and if you feed them too much or too little, or the right amount of stuff or the wrong amount of stuff, then what happens is that he ends up, if he's not agile enough, or if he can't be bothered, they produce two types of poo. And one of the
that's
poos
correct.
they produce
they do,
it's like a little mound of grapes.
Yep.
And what they do is they sit there like they've got a bag of they've got a little bag of Boasters or a little bag of Revels, and they'll just sit away and they'll just chew away on these things, just and
munch away.
Their stomach. Yeah, they'll just munch, they poo, and they'll eat. And the other thing is they'll produce these really hard golden balls. Now, sometimes if they're producing the wrong thing at the wrong time and they can't be bothered, you'll end up occasionally with a clump of poo at the back.
Yeah, and obviously, obviously they're, I can't get rid of this, and you're like, cool.
Oh, no,
I guess
thanks.
it's a trip. It's like, I guess I'll get the scissors out and like freak myself out that I'm about to chop something off, or like, you take them to the bath and the little thud that they do.
Yes.
Yeah. So we get that. Do you get the whining? Have you heard the whining before?
Only slightly once, but he's more of a thudder. He will just go, I know what you're about to do.
Yeah.
Now let me explain to you in my 15-point PowerPoint presentation why I feel this is not the correct course of action, and how if you just let nature take its course, then this will be the fine way to do things. And let me explain this to you in a single thump. And so you'll go near him and you'll just hear a
bang.
And it's like, oh, here we go.
Yep. So my one will at first will go, and then thud. So it is.
Wow.
Let me tell you, it is the most frustrating thing, because it's just like, I can deal with the thud, but the it's just like, grow up. Like, I honestly, and like, you're sort of like sat there like, of course he doesn't understand. Like, he's you can't communicate with. So our one's, so the other thing is, we bought a Duff one. Our one's deaf, which is great, because it means that because it means that like he doesn't get freaked out by lots of things, like lots of big noises and stuff. Slight caveat to that: if you do walk into his vision and he's not expecting you, then he will absolutely freak the hell out. But but you know, but the thing is, you know, obviously he's not listening to you, so he doesn't, you know. So when we talk to him, like.
Yeah.
You know, we talk to him, and we know he's deaf, and we're like, whatever. But, like, he's not able to understand his name or anything like that, so he can't come over or anything. But, like, when he's like, it's like, no, I'm not having that. Like, you're not whining at me. So the buzz is the, which is the, like, I'm excited about this, and it's also like a, hello, this is great to be around you. Like, so for example, when he binkies around the living room, because he's very, very excited, he jumps up and, like, flicks his little legs out to the side.
Oh, yeah, that's the coolest thing ever, and it's so cute.
It's
they do,
so
like, 360s
cute.
and 180s.
Which ones do you, so what kind of rabbits do you have?
I've just got one. We've just got a single, he's a mini lop as well.
Oh, he's a
Just
mini
a
lop
little-
as well. Oh, okay.
He is a mini lop as well, so I saw pictures and I went,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of elevated you in the league and the staying in league of people that you know that you're in a league.
I mean,
So you're always kind of you never drop lower than second. I'm just saying because you've got the rabbit.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
know. I know where I'm at. Wink, wink. Like I definitely know that I'm. You know. Oh yeah, I'm playing in the same league as those bozos. So the I mean like. Yeah, so when he's like running and jumping around the room and stuff like that, sometimes he'll go because he's just like super excited.
Yeah.
And what was the other one that we had? So we've not had any of the like honking. We certainly haven't had any of the screaming, which is really scary. I've never ever heard that. I never want to hear that.
I don't really want to hear that ever. I think that would make me consider. But I take it you have to keep him indoors. I mean, you've not got like an outside area to put him in an outside hutch or something like that. No?
If you keep them inside, it can double their lifespan. So rabbits' average lifespan in outside is about 5 years if they're in captivity. It's about 2 years if they're in the wild, and it's 10 years if they're inside. And so we were like, well, yeah, no, definitely, we'll keep him inside and he'll have a nice time. And so he's not really ever run around. Well, no, he sometimes does run around on grass when we take him to the Bunny Hotel. I take it have you taken yours to the Bunny Hotel yet?
No, we actually normally have neighbours kind of coming in, and the whole point of taking him somewhere else, I mean, I would think I would, I don't know. He has actually stayed at a friend's whose child, they were like, oh, a rabbit, I'd love to look after the rabbit. And I think they kind of cleaned, they kind of, you know, you give like, okay, and here's a bale of hay, and here's like, you know, an entire kind of cube of compressed hay that will probably fill up the back of a car if you kind of unfold it and everything like that. And we gave it and we got it back, and they practically used all of that because apparently they've been cleaning them out every single day because they were worried about the amount of poo that they were making. It's like they fire these out like poppets. What are you worried about? You know? It's like you got a little scoop, you know what I mean? And it's like you scoop it, you go in and go, oh, for goodness sake, I've got a scoop. So you scoop the one side out and you put it away in a bag, and then you get the sawdust out, and you put the granules down for the soaking up the moisture. You put a little bit of sawdust back on top. You turn your back. You literally turn back round, and all you've got is and there's like a little pile of like.
And I'm like,
exactly. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, I understand you're trying to make a tall ship here, so here's some cannonballs for the cannon, just for you. Oh, thanks, the right colour.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Billy. I hate it.
I think there's a with animal ownership, there is like, I'm always the person who's just like, think about whether or not this is the right thing to do. With rabbits, I genuinely think it is the wrong thing to do at all times. Like they are really complicated, like in terms of like what their actual needs are. And it sounds like you're like a really good bun dad, and I think we are as well. My partner and I think we're pretty good bun parents, but like, you know, for years and years and years, they were just seen as this like animal where it's just like, oh, chuck it down the bottom of the garden and like, you know, give it, you know, let them walk on that like that horrible chicken wire fence stuff and like cut their little little toes up and all that sort of stuff, and like, you know, they used to be fed absolute crap and like all this kind of thing, and like the big thing about them that I think people don't understand is like how social they are. Like they live in a group of rabbits is called a nest, and they live in nests of rabbits, right? And like they're super social, so they need you to be around. And luckily, because they're crepuscular, i.e. they are awake during dawn and during dusk, like it's good if you've got a job, because you can be around in like the morning and the evening. That is one of the good things about having a rabbit. But like it does also mean like if you go out in the evening, you are just going to leave it to not do anything, and that sucks, like, because it definitely wants to like have a run around and like be with its nest and like be all social and stuff like that. I mean, my rabbit actually is like absolutely in love with my partner Alex. Like, so Alex is like number one. We refer to her as human one. Right. Taco thinks of her as human one, and human one gives Taco everything he needs, right? So she will give him little treats every once in a while, and give him cuddles whenever he's around, like, and like make sure that he's got everything that he needs and all that good stuff. Like, but a lot of the nice things, and she does also do a lot of the other cleaning and stuff like that. I don't want to misconstrue what she does. And then I am the one that always picks him up and like makes sure that he has his nails clipped, and make sure that like he's got a clean ass, and then like make sure that like he's got all this other sort of stuff. And so I am very much human too. Like I am like, so he'll come over to me, I'll be sat on the settee, and I'll be sat there like playing a game, and he will look up at me like, and he'll be like, I want cuddles now. Like I want you to cuddle me. And he'll look at me, and he will not go away until he's got them. So I'll then have to, and he's not going to come up on the sofa. So I need to sit on the floor, you know, ruin my back and neck, and like, you know, give him this cuddle. And then he's like, I'm bored now, and like go off. And then he'll just go and sit with Alex, and he'll go and like flop down by the side of her, and she won't be paying attention to him, but he'll be like, this is the greatest. I feel so comfortable with you. This is so wonderful. Whereas with me, he's like, don't pick me up. Give me this cuddle, and that's all you're getting. Like, you know, like a little bit sort of, you know, very demanding. Very demanding.
I think we're guilty of not letting him out enough, I reckon. And he'll come out and he'll go under the table and he'll sit there,
right,
and he'll just look at you, and he'll be like, this is where I am. And it's like, well, why didn't you just sit in your cage? Well, I'm under the table now. I like being under the table. Yeah, it's kind of something different. You know, would you got another one? Because one of the things you said, you know, obviously they're kind of pretty kind of family company orientated. Yeah. Did the decision to get two, did that cross your mind at all at the time?
We were literally holding two. And there's this tiny little black, beautiful little black-coloured girl mini-lop, and it was like his sister. And we were like, and I was like, she is amazing. She was so quiet. She was just sat there, wasn't doing anything. He was trying to struggle. He was basically like, I want to get out. I want to go I'm going over here. I want to do all this sort of stuff. And like, he did not give a crap. And she was like, I'm so sweet and lovely, and I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this lovely. And he was like, no. And we went with one because basically we were like, well, we want him to bond with us. Yes. And then the other part of this were, I mean, at the time, obviously, so girls are like actually harder to look after because they get it's a matriarchal society that they run around in, right? So 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 she could have beaten him up, basically. And the other thing was like, no, we definitely wouldn't get another one. Like it's been incredible so far, and it's been one of the best and worst things I've ever done with my life. But like at the same time, like it does mean that in the evenings, if you want to go out for a drink, it's like, okay, well, someone needs to be at home, or like, okay, but if we do go out together, we need to make sure that we stay up longer so that he's actually got somebody around so that he has a bit of a time out and all that sort of stuff. And it also makes going on holiday harder because we don't have any our neighbours technically don't know that we have him because we're technically not allowed him, and so he has to go to the Bunny Hotel each time, which is fine. It's just that so. But again, they don't necessarily know his like needs. So, for example, if he like starts showing one of his thing, like his like if he starts to like, I mean, he's fine with the ecanicular thing now because he's absolutely on top of it. But if his teeth start to hurt and stuff like that, they might be like, "What is going on?" Whereas, So I don't know. Yeah, it's as I say, really lovely, but also, it's tricky, man. It's challenging.
See, I now have to obviously take back that thing about the world needs more bunnies, because quite clearly from the conversation that we've had for the last 20 odd minutes, the world does not need.
But you know what, mate?
It
doesn't matter because the bunnies are gonna put more bunnies into the world anyway. Like that's literally how they've survived this long. The incredible thing about the rabbit is their evolutionary advantage is they can just outbreed death. Like it's incredible. Like that is literally their, like, if you think about it, they are a fairly easy to catch, easy meal, warm, easy meal. Like they are not that difficult. But and they have an airborne disease that nobody knows how to cure. And every 8 years comes along, just decimates huge portions of the rabbit population. But their evolutionary advantage is they're like, we know how to outbreed.
We just
this.
breed like you know what I mean. Just watch us. You want to see us breed rabbits?
Yeah,
let's live up to the namesake kind of thing.
Watch this nonsense. But yeah, it's so I think the world can have as many rabbits as it wants, but like these people who are like, oh, we'll get a really easy pet like a rabbit. It's like you should get a gerbil. Like you should get a hamster. Like that's actually what you want. Or a shark. Yeah, pop a shark.
It's like
in
that.
a tank.
It's like my brother's got a tortoise.
Yeah,
and he's got like a list of things he's got to do, and he's got like a special cage for it, and it's got certain kind of things that it's got to have, and certain things it doesn't have to have, and they move incredibly fast when they want to move. They move like lightning, and a lettuce is never going to survive in that type of force and pressure and stuff like that. It's just never ever going to happen. Yeah. I like him. I would probably get another one. I would think I'd probably get another one. I'd probably be tempted to get two. I think we only got one at the time because we weren't sure. But my brother just got two, literally the other week.
But that's the thing. Like, if you become a rabbit person. Yes. Like, I think that, if you can get into that in that way, like, I think that's beautiful. I mean, you've got a young family, right? So, it's cool that you've got, rabbits are really cool because, I mean, I don't mean to presume, but like, I assume that you're not going out every evening to the theatre or whatever it is that young people do these days. So I would assume that, that means that you can be around for the rabbit, right? And that's really, really lovely. But like, if you're like a hip, young 20s something, not that I am, but like a young 20s suburbanite or something like that, or Londoner or something.
Who's he talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's certainly not him. But like, if you're living in like a big city and you like going out every night, and you're like, I know, I'll get a rabbit. That'll be easy. It's like, nah. Oh man, isn't this a podcast about? What is it about? Board games?
Have you played Bunny Kingdom?
I've not played Bunny Kingdom. Is that enough?
Neither have I. It's a game. It's a game by Yellow, and I'm trying to potentially. I'm thinking about getting hold of it. There you go. That kind of covers off the. Okay. That kind of covers off the board. Have you been playing any board games recently? Have you managed to get yourself anything to the table?
Let me go and hold on. Let me have a quick. A little glance at the old. I've been more RPGing actually, and not actually playing RPGs like every great RPG fan. Just reading them and thinking, boy, I wish I had friends who live nearby. And yeah, I've been reading a lot of RPGs recently. So and trying to figure out where the fun is in RPGs. I always get interested, and this is my video game production stuff and also video game journalism stuff rearing its head here. I'm really interested in like what makes a good role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game, and so I've been reading a lot of them. So I've been reading Batman the role-playing game, which is like this old Mayfair thing from like I think 87 maybe. Reading that, reading Fate Accelerated, which is like the swifter version of Fate Core. Reading, I just got, what did I get? I just got one called Stalling, totally not stalling for time here, where I go onto the internet and start looking up the name of this RPG, which
it's fine. It's good. Fine, it's still, no, he's not. Oh my goodness, everybody, look behind you, there's like a huge meeple.
Yeah, there it is, look.
That'll distract them. There it goes.
There they are. Hands. They're looking a different direction. They'll be all right. So
that's fine.
So it is called... Yes, so I got a game recently called Cogs, Cakes and Sword Sticks, which is from... the company I work for's good friends over at Modiphius. They published this game. It's a steampunk, pulpy role-playing game set in Britain, and it really grabbed my attention because it's basically about cake and tea and like burglaries, which is like really exciting
stuff.
Yeah, good old British
stuff about lips and stuff like that, and going out in the rain and without a jacket.
Exactly. It's that sort of like having a penchant for cues, but also attacking a zeppelin. So yeah, it's that kind of level of stuff. And also, I've been reading. Do you know the series Era? Have you heard of Era?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mr.
Era.
And Era the Consortium and Era the Chosen.
Consortium.
And
Yeah, so I've just been I've been reading Era the Consortium. I think it's the Primer book, because I got that at a Bristol convention about 6 months ago now. Been reading that and trying to figure out like how did this like ultra indie RPG company like put this whole thing together, and how do they keep banging stuff out at this rate? Like it's a small team, but they smash stuff out at an alarming rate. They have a Kickstarter like every 2 months or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's the guy Ed Jowett, and he's on the show on a regular basis. In fact, I think he's been on about 5 or 6 times now, and he is absolutely prolific. And it's almost a case of Ed is kind of full of RPG. And the only reason is that there isn't more Era RPG out there is because there is only technically 24 hours in a day, and every single time he amazes me. And it's not a case that he goes, oh, Battlestar Galactica, yeah, let's kind of riff off that kind of thing. He's actually writing whole worlds, and he seems to be kind of not just, oh, here's an idea. Because I spoke to, I had Grant Howitt on the show recently, and he does these one-page RPGs, and it could be anything at all. I mean, he did like, the Right to Bear Arms, and it's people with like bears for arms and stuff like that, and it's like a one-pager that you kind of throw out, and this stuff is absolutely fantastic, and he does quite a lot of stuff, but Ed's stuff just seems to be, okay, this is my take on superheroes, and it's not like this is my take on Superman or Batman. It's like, this is my take on the superhero genre, and he covers the whole thing with a river of just stuff.
It's like when I was reading it, and like I found the system itself a little bit too I'm not. So I also read Fiasco. I'm not Fiasco levels of like I just want to do it. Basically, Fiasco could literally be boiled down to a single page that just reads do improv, but like Era is a little bit further in the direction than I like of like stats and structure. And I think and that's not a criticism of it. That's simply a case of like I mean, like I look at stuff like Pathfinder, I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Pathfinder. Like, I'm sure somebody out there, in fact, a lot of people out there love this stuff. But you know what? That is not for me. Like, And I think the era stuff in terms of rule set just goes a little bit too much for me in that direction. But as you're talking about the actual world building, that is so inspirational. Like when I was talking with him at this at the Bristol event, you just got from him and his pals who were with him helping out with the event itself. You just got this sense of like, I'm living this. Like this is like I just it's like a compulsion almost that he just has to get this out. It's like, as you say, it's not. It doesn't feel. I think Era the Consortium doesn't. It feels like, here's my take on future sci-fi with like cyberpunk wrapped into it and like future sci-fi stuff. Not as far as like Mindjammer, which I just got a copy of and I'm really excited to have a look at how that works. Not as far as like Mindjammer, like future stuff. Not as like strange, uncomfortable, maybe uncanny sci-fi like Tales from the Loop, or maybe something like Nibinura, I think it's called Nibinura or something. Anyway, one of those things. Like it doesn't feel like that. It feels like, here's my sci-fi universe, and you're like, okay, well that's fine. And then you read this primer, and you're like, Jesus, man, like there's so much here. Like, okay, here's the 2 massive A4 pages that you need to read about this one business. By the way, we will go into more detail in the full book, and it's like, this is so inspiring. Like the idea that somebody can that amount of information can just like spurt out of someone's brain. Do you know what I mean? Like that someone can go, here's how money works in this universe. It's like, what? I find it really.
It's why I get him on, because he comes out with stuff, and you know that he's not doing it commercially. Do you know what I mean? There's a big push nowadays for somebody to go, that's a really good idea. You know, I really like that idea, Steve, but is it going to make us any money? Kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas with Ed is just like, Ed is kind of like, he's like a Vincent van Gogh kind of character. Yeah. He's going out, he's painting sunflowers and starry nights, whether you asked him to do it or not, because he's got to go out and do his sunflowers and his starry nights. And I think it's people looking back and discovering it, like yourself, are actually kind of appreciating the amount of work that's kind of gone into it.
There's something beauteous about just the act of creation. It doesn't matter what the quality of that creation actually is in the end. And I think what he's produced is actually pretty okay. Like it's not my favorite, but it's you can certainly see the quality inside of it. But it doesn't matter, because it's the act of the creative process where you just go, that is beautiful. That is somebody sitting down for, because I've been dabbling with writing a story of my own for an RPG, right? Like this is just something that's been happening for the last 6 months, and I've not really been thinking about it, like talking about it, and like it's just been a kind of like personal thing. And like the entire time I've been like, wow, like I find it really difficult to sit down at the keyboard and get stuff done. I'm always like, I need to clean up my room. I need to make sure that like I have everything in place. Oh, I can't possibly do it without 2 screens. I need to, or do it on my laptop. It has to be the desktop. It needs to be there. There's always an excuse to not put something together, to not be creative, and whether it's practical, in inverted commas, things like that, or simply stuff like your own personality just getting in the way, like, but what if it's rubbish? Stuff along those lines. The admiration I have for any creative people where they have this consistent throughput of work, because you're just like, this is such a talent, this is such a skill to just sit down and go, I'm just going to blast this out, and then I'll clean it up later and make it all work. But it's why I've got a huge respect for people like Dan Abnett, right? So a writer like Dan Abnett, who works a lot with our pals over at Games Workshop, writes a lot of really good stuff. Has done did the Eisenhorn stuff, right? But just smashes books out. Like, he's like, spare weekend? Yeah, here we go. Here's another one. but and they're very good, but like it's just that admiration for a person like that where they go, I'm going to write 300 pages of a novel and I'm going to do it in X amount of time. And you're like, that is terrifying to me. Like as somebody who's dabbled in that stuff, it's like, wow, that's so, I wish I could get into that mindset.
I think it comes down to, it's the mindset. I think that they've almost got over that bit where they're like, I don't care if anyone thinks it's good or not. Right. I'm sticking 3,000 words down here on a page.
Yeah.
And that'll be enough as a kind of a good start. And it's such a debilitating thing to have to sit down in front of a blank. I don't think it's worse sitting down on a blank piece of paper or sitting down with having written 257 words and going, these are the worst words that anyone has ever written.
Yeah.
I can't even look at these words. These are absolutely terrible. That isn't even a sentence. You know what I mean? And meanwhile in the corner, somebody's going, I've got sore teeth.
Yeah, infuriating, isn't it? But I just feel like it's so wonderful. So yeah, RPGs, man. Like RPGs are. There's something. I kind of feel like RPGs are the next big one. Like you see these things with like Critical Role, and obviously like they're making money off of other people's creativity, but like yeah, I mean they're making so much, but like it feels like there's a you see it with Wizards doing D&D, like putting out more and more and more content that is like very much in their own universe and like building out the D&D brand. Like you kind of feel like they're really pushing for RPGs to be this thing. You see it with companies again, you see it with companies like is it Cubicle 8? Is that what they're called? I want to say they're called Cubicle 8 or something. Yes. Hold on. I will totally not go back to my browser and have a look for the Cubicle 7. No, not quite. I mean, not quite Cubicle 8, is it? It's one less. Like Cubicle 7.
Cubicle 8 is where they're aiming for. That's where they're aiming for. They want to be Cubicle 8. And in that case, just Cubicle 7, Cubicle 7 because they found some success.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I believe in you, Cubicle 7. If you want to be Cubicle 8, I believe you. But like again, like you can see how they've been doing stuff with like One Ring and other products and that kind of thing. You see it with the Shadowrun series. Like they're all building and building and building, and you kind of feel like there's going to be this like mainstream acceptance of RPGs in the way that board games currently enjoy. Like there is like board games are not. They're no longer like what, like Mousetrap. There is still that with RPGs. There is isn't that for dorks? Whereas with board games now enjoy this much more like, oh yeah, no, I went to a cafe and like played a board game. It was really, really good. Turns out board games are really good these days. Yeah. Like board games are kind of going through that and enjoying the increased success that comes with. And I kind of feel like war games and RPGs haven't got that yet. Like war games are still toy soldiers for dorks, and RPGs are still even ugly folks like to pretend to dress up now and then. It's very it's very, and it's upsetting because it's like you go and play games like so I played Honey Heist a little while ago, and I think games like Honey Heist and other like one-shot really fun things along those lines, they're actually really anyone can enjoy them, right? Like they're super low barrier to entry. I felt like, so I ran Paranoia, and like that's actually a really fun, everybody can understand what the setup is and everybody can pretend that they're a clone in a dystopian future. Like everybody can pretend to do all that sort of stuff, and it feels like RPGs are not, war games are kind of almost there.
I think the thing with RPGs, and I don't think it helps when you get things coming into the zeitgeist like Stranger Things,
right?
And the things that kept coming up is, we've got to finish the campaign, and I think And I think that RPGs could be something that people sit around the table. I remember back in the the late, must have been the early 90s, middle of the 90s, there was murder mystery kind of boxes that you were able to buy from the shops. And in all intents and purposes, they were just, somebody had taken the role-playing game idea and decided to, it allowed kind of affluent middle-class people to pretend that they were in an Agatha Christie novel, and they were able to have dinner, and then they were able to do this murder mystery, and it was so jolly, so good fun. And I think it's almost like, and then that disappeared, and then the people that were still playing D&D were still playing D&D and Pathfinder and Vampire Masquerade and everything else. And I think now we're going to end up with potentially on the cusp of people with, like, bringing up, say again, Grant Howitt doing kind of like one-page RPGs. There's a lot of people who are saying, like, I want to do single sessions. I can't do a campaign, and my friends are interested in just having a laugh. Let's all have a couple of drinks or whatever, and let's just have a little bit of a role play with a very simple system, and we all have a laugh, and we can pretend who we want to be, and then we can all walk away at the end of the night, and we don't need to gather up again in 2 weeks' time to do exactly the same thing again, because that never bloody works, because because Sonia's never available, kind of thing.
Right,
but
that's the thing, like, if we want, like, board games, the beauty of board games, I think, is that they actually appeal to an older demographic than traditionally video games do, right? Because video games always require this extreme hurdle for you to get over in terms of barrier to entry, right? Like, you're essentially playing using a remote control car controller, right? If you think about what a video game controller is, there are so many buttons and so many things that they do that it's just like the barrier to entry just for that is extremely high. And so it skews young, because young people tend to have a lot of free time, and they're able to put their. It's why Fortnite is such a big thing, because they're like, hey kids, you want something for free that you can just play forever and ever and ever with your friends who are also bored as hell like you are and want to play for free? Here you go. Like, that's great. Whereas you look at what board games are doing, and board games are, like, I think the most successful ones have or consistently successful ones have kind of taken that balanced line of, games like Catan, Ticket to Ride, Splendor, that kind of board game. Pandemic, I think, is a good example. And it's like the rules are complicated enough to have depth, but simple enough to be understood, where as long as somebody's in the room who's able to actually explain the rules to the other person, you can just immediately get playing. And I think that accessibility is really important for, people who are paying for the rich and luxurious lifestyles of the rabbits that they own, right? Like, it is like, if you go out and work for a living and you come back, you get excited, on payday, because you're like, I'm going to buy this one board game because I know that on the weekend I'll probably have enough time with my partner to go and play this game. Whereas with video games, you're like, cool, I need to sink 45 hours into this until it starts getting good. And, like, I think that RPGs currently suffer from this problem where, like, there is the Dungeons and Dragons where it's like, cool, if you want to get the most out of this, really, you are going to need to sign yourself up to at least 4 or 5 good sessions of this stuff.
No.
And sessions are going to be 4 or 5 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours long. Yeah. Whereas these one shots like Honey Heist, like Fiasco, which, I mean, as I say, I read through and I didn't particularly like it, but I thought was very smart in that, like, with Fiasco, it's like super straightforward rules. Everybody understands what's actually going on. There's no such thing as campaign play. And again, that accessibility means that people are gonna be like, oh, should we crack out Fiasco? Whereas I don't think anybody who's going to a nice sophisticated dinner party is like, should we crack out Call of Cthulhu? Like no one's thinking that, right? No one's thinking like, let's just have a quick session of some mad, super complicated role playing game, And again, it's why I find systems
shall I get the robes?
Yeah.
You get the candles, I'll get the robes.
Yeah,
kind of
it's just like, let me get out these dice. Like really simple things like this, right? Like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Let's start playing. Cool. Do we have the correct dice to play this game? It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, like, oh, surely all dice are the same. It's like, no, but on this instance, we need a D20, a D8, and it's just like you're just putting barriers up all the time. Whereas I think we're heading towards, hopefully, a situation where hopefully there are going to be slightly more accessible games, like in the limelight, in terms of RPGs, in the limelight a lot more, and that the engaging with RPGs becomes less about watching the Critical Role folks do what they want to do, and like going, oh great, yeah, this is brilliant. I could never put this game together. Like, there's no way I could have this many friends and this amount of cool stuff in the same room all in one go. From that to, let's all play. I don't know, like Fate Accelerated. Like, I think Fate Accelerated is a really good game that people could very quickly get into, but just hasn't seemed to have like picked up quite the attention that it sort of needed when it came out a fair number of years ago now.
Do you know what it's going to take? It's going to take like a Coronation Street RPG, or a Big Brother RPG, or the Circle RPG, or EastEnders RPG, or something like that. It's going to take something where folk are going to say, well, you can play this character, and this character, and people will just be going in and saying, well, this is what you've got to do.
Right.
And I think that there's an intellectual property. Interestingly enough, it ties into this kind of Wendy's thing, where Wendy's apparently released an RPG, and
yes,
everybody kind of went, oh, this is absolutely bloody dreadful. Yeah. How dare they try to capitalise by selling people stuff all the time. If you don't mind, I'm going to go off and spend my $49.95 on this third time I've bought this book, because it's got a gold embossed dragon instead of the normal dragon that I picked up last time. And while there's part of me that goes, well, that's Wendy's cashing in, there's also part of me that's thinking, out of the 100 people that pick that up, say if it is 100 people pick it up, what happens if, say, 40 of them go on the internet and try and find out about other role-playing games? And what happens if out of that 40, 20 go on and actually pick up, something? And then out of those 20 that pick up on something, 7 or 8 go ahead and do some, 7 or 8 go ahead and actually start something. I mean, isn't that enough? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that what we're kind of looking for?
Dude, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That really upset me about the whole Wendy's thing. It was just like, guys, first of all, it's a company being a company. Come on. And second of all, this is mass market. But that's the issue with any, and I think wargaming and RPGs have this problem, and board games, I think, have flirted on the periphery of having this problem of just gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Like RPGs and wargames definitely do. Like wargames, I fell out of them for like 15, maybe longer years, and then only recently got back into them with Kill Team and Burrows and Badgers. Because quite simply, the barrier to entry was super high to begin with, and that was really off-putting. But it was the thing of you'd go on Reddit and be like, where do I start with the, and just a torrent of oh, you should be doing the blah, 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 blah. You should be spending 700 quid to make sure that you've got blah, 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 blah. And if you don't have this, what's the point? Are you even playing Battletech if you're playing with the starter set only? It's and I kind of feel like RPGs are the same, and board games have flirted with that, but this when you see Wendy's and stuff dance around with this stuff, you're kind of like, good for you, cool. It's cool that you've tried this stuff out. It's really interesting that you've thought, oh, okay, there might be something here. And
it's interesting. It's interesting. There was a board meeting where people sat around and made a decision that they wanted to engage with the RPG community.
Beautiful.
And if you think about it, the only reason a mass mega corporation like Wendy's is going to consider engaging in the RPG community is because they thought there was money there. And that's what comes out. That which means it's getting noticed, which means people are wanting to take it mainstream. And it's one of these double-edged swords. It's like taking something to mainstream and commercialising it makes it crap for the people that were there since the beginning. But this is how it is, I'm afraid. This is what happens when things get popular.
Right. But it's also like those games will always exist. Like I always get really upset with people who are like, they're going to change my game. And it's like, believe you me, the companies that are going to come in, they don't care about your game. They want to make the next version of your game. Like if you want to play, if you want to play the, a Historics miniatures war game that requires, a £2,000 outlay per side, and God help you if you've put if you've added the wrong green to the sash of the rifleman, because otherwise you're not playing in my town, Sonny. Like, they will still exist. It's just that, it's not going to be about that only from now on, and that is the double-edged sword of I wish people understood my hobby, to then people going, I understand your hobby, I don't like this, I want this, and then that going off in that interesting direction.
So there's a lot going to happen. It's kind of exciting times. It's kind of good
exciting
times.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very good. On this show we do have guests. We've had Ed on that talks about obviously Ripigas. We've had Deborah on who was talking about the Everyverse kind of RPG. For people who haven't kind of listened to the absolutely fabulous Staying In podcast.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at our Skype chat, and do you realise the last time we talked was, can you guess? Can you remember when it was?
Oh,
do you want to tell you?
It feels like a few months. It's surely not more than 6 months ago.
It was January 2018 was the last time we had a Skype chat.
That's too long. I'm actually upset. I'm actually very upset about this.
I'm quite upset with that as well, but time, I think it's probably less than that, but these things can happen.
Don't like it.
Staying In is one of these podcasts which I will put it on when I'm gardening. I will put it on when I'm relaxing. I will put it on in the car. It's just absolute. It's like chicken soup, wrapped up in the most crustiest bread, and it's absolutely nourishing and fulfilling. But what would you say to people if you wanted to tell people what Staying In is about, for people who haven't heard it before, and you bloody well should have?
It's like we always made it. It should feel like you're just listening to your friends having a chat about just like we call it like quote geek culture kind of stuff, but like that's a bit too highbrow. It's really like every fortnight we sit with basically best friends, sit together and talk about the things that they really like. We try and avoid bad things, and so we talk about these things we really, really enjoy, and we kind of try to talk to each other normally. I know that sounds really strange, but like we try and really not we talk like Chris talks on that show like he talks to me when I'm on the phone with him, right? He is like that, and that's what I love about it, because I hope it comes across as really genuine, it's just nice, hopefully nice folks talking about nice things that we think people will like, and it's nice. If you liked this conversation that we've just been having right now, I kind of feel like you would like it, because it's like it's just rapping. It's just rapping.
It's very, very good. There's no two ways about it, and I would implore everybody to go onto their podcast catcher of choice and check out, go and search for Staying In Pod or Staying In Podcast. You're Staying In Pod on Twitter, aren't you?
Yeah, Staying In Pod on Twitter and Facebook, Staying In Podcast on everything else, I think. Yeah.
Yes, so you can find you. If people want to have listened along tonight and there must be more Bunny. Surely there will be pictures. Where do you exist? Where do you exist on the internet webs?
Well, the web's internet is, for me, over on... so you can find me on twitter.com/000 with an X. Sometimes I post bunny pictures, but you might want to search for Taco El Paso on Instagram, because he does have his own bunny account.
Oh, wow.
And he does occasionally put little pictures up on there. You can find me on there as well. The other places on the internet that am I allowed to do a cheeky plug for a thing? Can I do a cheeky little thing? So my work, I work for a video game studio, a lovely video game studio. We just did the port for a game called Megaquarium, which is an aquarium management game. And it's so the PC version's been out for ages now, but we've just done the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 port, and they come out... 2 or 3 days from now. It comes out on the 18th, I think it is. It'll be here by the weekend. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I've had almost precious little to do with it, so it's actually turned out really well. If you would like, if again, it's a very chill, very relaxing game. We talked about this on the podcast actually the other day. If you want to listen to We're Not Wizards, but you also want to be doing something else with your hands, and you're like, well, I've done the washing up, I've emptied out the rabbits, I've put the kids to bed. Like, if you want to be listening to something else, it's the perfect game to just sit back, chill out, do whatever you want, and basically manage an aquarium while listening to a nice podcast. So yeah,
that sounds perfect.
So yeah, go and get that, and then listen to some more back episodes of this. That's the perfect combination.
There you go. I shall make sure that we put all the links in the show notes so that we have notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we are up to, go to the internet webs and search for We Are Not Wizards, and you shall find us as normal. And you shall also find us on the podcast catchers of choice. Some of them have got the word pod in them, some of them have got the word cast in them, some of them have got neither, like Stitcher or Player FM.
Yeah.
If you like us even more, then consider, tell somebody else about us, because we spread.
That's so important.
Like a virus, I guess.
And also, that's the good karma. That's the good karma, right?
Yes.
Go tell somebody about a thing. That's the secret good action.
Do it. Basically. Or the other thing you can do is you can go into Apple Podcasts and you can drop us a subscription, a rating, or a review. If you are going to be dropping us a subscription, rating, or review, don't give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed, but don't give us 1 star because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like it's 5, because it's average and we're just a little bit average, but the person who's not been average is a rather wonderful, rather fantastic Mr. Peter Wellington. He's fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on, Peter.
Thank you again for having me on.
That's very good. There's only 2 more things to do as normal. You got to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Peter?
Of course not.
Absolutely not. And the second thing is to thank our sponsors of the show and also to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Peter. Say goodbye, Peter.
Goodbye, Peter.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and don't bother going out, but make sure you're staying in. And until the next time.
A wizard is never late. is he early? He arrives precisely when he means to.